That's such a cock block. Holy shit.
You see what I mean?
Trumped me.
I trumped you. Welcome everybody, I am Majin Busha, and today you are going to be able to compete with Guan Yu in solo lane. Guan Yu, since his changes in 5.8, has been a top pick and top ban in most ranked games, but what made him so strong? First, we will go over the changes that were made to Guan Yu in patch 5.8. Changes are as follows. Basic attacks. The third hit of Guan Yu's hit chain now cleaves. The last hit of Guan Yu's hit chain has a range increase from 12 to 16. The first two hits of Guan Yu's hit chain have remained unchanged and are the same as they were before. Painless. Stacks now only reset when out of combat rather than being consumed by a single ability. In other words, after you stack your passive by base attacks or abilities, you're going to be able to use this passive on all your abilities. By the way, out of combat means 5 seconds, so as long as you've been in combat before that 5 seconds is up, this will be active at all points in times. But why is this so strong for Guan Yu? The reasoning is as follows. First, we'll talk about Conviction. This ability with a maxed out passive means you can heal double the original amount. This means at level 8, when you have this ability at rank 2, instead of healing yourself and your minions for 75, you will heal for 150. Second ability, Warrior's Will. This is Guan's dash. Without the passive, this ability applies a 20% slow, but with the passive, it provides a 40% slow. The third ability is Talal Assault. Without the passive, this ability allows you to deal damage and steal enemy protections. This scales per rank from 2 per stack up to 10 per stack. You will steal between 6 and 30 protections depending on the rank of the ability, and reduce their protections for a 3-second duration. I would say this works on minions. You do get the protection buff, but minions do not have protections, they have damage reduction as time passes by in the game. But that's not all for this ability. With the passive, it allows you to steal anywhere between 3 to 15 protections, which means you can steal 9 to 45 protections by level 9. Imagine this, Kakalin is facing you, and he's already built his Glad Shield. You have basically taken all his Glad Shield protections, plus a little more, away from him. The fourth one is Cavalry Charge, Guan Yu's ultimate. Unboosted, this ultimate gives you a 25% slow for 2 seconds, and it will stun for 1.5 seconds if you land a stun. Yikes? Not quite. While boosted, Guan Yu's ultimate will give you a 40% slow plus a 2-second stun. That screams ouch. These changes make Guan Yu a strong character, but how do you stop such a strong force? Simple enough actually, you need to play characters that can compete with Guan in the solo lane. By this I mean play gods that can interrupt his abilities. Before I get into what gods or goddesses you can play well into Guan, I want to remind you that Guan Yu most of the time will be maxing out his third ability, which is Talal Assault. During this third ability, he is knockback immune. Keep this in mind. There is one small exception with this with one particular god, but we will go over that towards the end of the video when we get to that god. For now, let's talk about the first god or goddess that you could play into Guan successfully. That would be Athena. Athena's taunt is one of the abilities in the game that can interrupt Guan Yu's Talal Assault. If you're patient enough and are able to force them to use the ability before you do, you will cancel out all damage Guan Yu can use to clear or poke you with in that Talal Assault. By rushing Shoes of Focus into Breastplate of Valor and having your blue buff, you will have plenty of mana sustain and 40% CDR at all times. Why is this a big deal? By doing this, your taunt will be on a 10.8 second cooldown, which is pretty nuts, seeing Guan Yu's Talal Assault were off cooldown. Also, I would recommend having 2 points in this ability by level 8, that way you have a longer taunt. I would max your 1 until rank 4, because you can clear the wave, or at least the archers this way. But then max your abilities to the need of your desire. But also keep in mind, maxing the ultimate when available does decrease the cooldown on that ability quite a lot and is very impactful. The next god that comes to mind is Ymir. Why Ymir, you might ask? Ymir has one of the single most annoying gods for Guan Yu to play in lane. This is because you have two abilities that can disrupt his clear or block him from being able to clear the entire wave. Ymir's third ability, Frost Breath, applies a stun, scaling from 1.25 seconds up to 2.25 seconds. Ymir's first ability, Ice Wall, aka the Donald Trump ability, will block off 3 of Guan Yu's abilities. It will make his dash stop before the wall. It will make his 3 only be able to hit certain targets, if any. This means if he's trying to use his Talon Assault on your archers, and you don't want him to get to the melee, you can block him off to where he can't use the Talon Assault on the melee. He will be forced to dash or just use all his auto attacks. Either way, he's going to have to auto attack those melees. It makes for a rough time for him to be able to clear. And also, it's hard for Guan Yu to really box with Ymir because of Ymir's passive allowing him to deal basic attacks to do double damage for a short duration after you land a successful ability onto Guan Yu. But that's enough about Ymir. The next on the list is Aphrodite, and this one is pretty simple. Your first ability, which is Kiss, is a stun. Stuns will interrupt Guan Yu's clear if you haven't figured that out at this point in time. It will also conceal the ability. Her doves allow her to compete with his healing of himself and of minions, and the lane will pretty much be a stalemate. Oh, and not to mention, if you use his ult, you can use your ult as well, but you need to make sure you time this right and be able to predict when he's going to end his ultimate. If he's going to end it on the 4th hit, or if it's going to be a hit before that. In other words, canceling early. The last god I want to talk about in detail is Hercules, and it's just going to be just a little bit because you only need small information for this. Hercules' Driving Strike is a stun into a knockback. Remember earlier when I said Guan Yu was knockback immune while he is using Talon Assault? Well, this is one case where this isn't true, kind of. The reason behind this is the stun applies at the beginning, middle, and end of the ability. This means Guan Yu is no longer in his third ability, which is Talon Assault, allowing Driving Strike to also knock him back. Other gods or goddesses that you can play in solo that can interrupt his clear goes as follows. Kabrakan, who has 2 stuns. Neja, who has a stun at his ultimate. Fenrir, who has a stun when you stack his passive on his 1, and his ult will pick Guan Yu up as well. Amaterasu has a silence on her dash. Hades has a silence/fear on his second ability, pending if you have a basic attack on the character. Zhongqi has a stun. Ardia, she has a stun in her bear form. Also, if Guan Yu wants to dash away, in your normal form, or your druid form rather, you have a cripple. It's pretty hard for him to get away, right? Kali has a stun of her 3. Kumbhakarna has a mez, which will work like a silence or a stun and cancel his ability. Ratatoskr has a stun on his 3. And Thor has 2 stuns, one of which is his second ability, and one is his ultimate. However, you're probably not going to be using your ultimate often for that. There are a couple other gods I could mention, but are likely never to be found in solo lane, and the other one is basically no chance of it happening consistently. I hope this video was insightful for you. I enjoy making content for you guys. Make sure if you liked the content to subscribe, like, and comment. All feedback is appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. Majin Busha out.